First of all, what I want to talk about is we've had 2 shootings within 2 days, 48 hours roughly. But before I get into that, there's a lot of talk and things being said about law enforcement, not enough defunding the police, not enough police, too many police. What I want to talk about is last night at this shooting, this multiple shooting, there wasn't enough police. We had multiple agencies that were involved just last night. We had the Butler County Sheriff's Office, third shift. We had the Highway Patrol, which was multiple cars. We had Fairfield Township was involved. We had Westchester Police at the hospital. They had at least 9 cruisers from 2 of the shooters, 3 to include the deceased, were at the Westchester Hospital. I believe it's the UC Hospital at Westchester. And all the victims, the witnesses, naturally all went to the hospital with their friends and their family. So there wasn't enough police last night. Here in our place here, we had the hallways were lined up. We had correction officers dividing, keeping the witnesses separate. Family members were coming in. Plus we had a crime scene we had to secure. And we had the hospital. We had detectives at the hospital talking to witnesses. A lot of people were involved. That was just last night. The investigation's still ongoing at this point. I want to talk about the first shooting that we had. It was in Liberty Township, and it was behind what we refer to as the YMCA, a very large area. The first shooting that I'm going to talk about is no relation to the shooting that took place last night. So there was rumors online that it was a retaliation. No relation, nothing for that to happen whatsoever. So what took place on the first shooting, which was June the 9th, it was basically 2 males and a female lured another person to come to that area, and the purpose was to rob this individual, to steal his car, and or take other belongings that he had. A fight ensued, and the victim was shot and killed. It appears he was shot in the head, and he was killed. The young man who done the shooting, in the process, shot himself. At that point, we had one person that was shot, killed. The guy that done the shooting, again, shot himself by accident, it appears. He went to the hospital. At that point, the other people left the scene. There's a 14-year-old girl involved in this also, a juvenile. And we're still looking for one more individual that was part of that group. And everybody here should have that information already handed out to you. We've got information of all the shooters, the shooter, and naturally the 14-year-old. The 14-year-old is in this process. It's really sad when you have a 14-year-old that's involved in this. And but I would like to mention that this is an instance. We're still talking about the first shooting, and we've got several charges on the shooter: aggravated robbery, murder charge, and other charges that are pending. That's the first shooting that took place. But I want to emphasize, these are all young people. When I say 14, 18, 19, 20, 21, to all the parents and to anybody that's out there that's listening to this today, you need to pay attention to where your kids are. A lot of these kids still live at home, still live with their parents, no different than any other kid. They all live with their parents. They're at home, and you need to know where your kids are, what they're doing, as much as you can. Just because they're 18 or 17 or 19 doesn't mean they're mature enough to go out, and it takes one gun. But I want to emphasize that the first shooting that we're still talking about This individual was lured there over the internet, it appears, and the full intentions were to rob him of his car and his belongings. And again, a fight pursued, and he was shot and killed. Shot twice, and the guy that done the shooting shot himself. That's the first shooting. Now I would like to go to the shooting that took place last night. No relation to the first shooting. This took place, actually started a few days before with an argument, and it appeared some type of a fight took place. It appears that it may have took place in Fairfield Township. Fairfield Township Police Department was working with our office because they thought it might bleed over. At that point, after this altercation took place, a few days before, there were some items that were stolen, that were taken away, that were left. Cell phones, AirPods, things like that. The group that lost these things or had them taken, they located and figured out who took them and where they were at. So, last night, the groups decided, two groups, that they would meet at behind the YMCA in Liberty Township. There's an open field back there and there's a large parking lot. They decided they would meet and they would settle their differences. So what I've been told, the investigation is ongoing, still going on, that the two groups lined up and they started fighting. At that point, one wasn't doing so well. Drew a handgun and started shooting. Random shooting. Just started shooting into the crowd. Shot one individual, killed him. Shot two more individuals. At the same time, our deputies pulling up because people are calling in. Our deputies there either right after the shooting or as the shooting's taking place. Him and another deputy get there. The crowd scatters. At that point, we're calling for assistance. We're getting other agencies, law enforcement agencies, to respond, plus the Liberty Township Fire Department, Life Squad, to respond. We need lighting. We need Life Squad. Two of my deputies performed CPR to no avail on the individual that was killed. Transported to the hospital. He died. The other two shooters get to the hospital, and at that point, we have the Westchester Police, all the family members, people are coming. It's the internet, social media. So they're at the hospital. Westchester sends several police officers, Westchester Police, to the hospital to separate the witness and keep everything under control. At that time, we're getting people in, we're getting people to the hospital. The shooter has been charged with murder and, again, felonious assault. Several charges are still coming. You have all that information. Two separate shootings, and of all places, we've not had a shooting in Liberty Township in what, 6 years? A killing in 6 years. It's very unusual. But then we have two mass shootings, two shootings that take place, all within 48 hours. I want to commend all the other law enforcement agencies that participated. Again, Westchester Police, Fairfield Township Police, the Highway Patrol. I want to commend the Fire Department from Liberty Township and the Life Squad, the hospital staff with all these shootings and all these victims. It's a crazy world we live in, folks, but these are all young people. These aren't people that are in trouble all the time, but as you can see, when they were lined up in these hallways, a lot of them, the first thing they were asking for was they wanted their moms. These mostly are not career criminals. These are young people. I'm not justifying anything that took place. These are young people, and it takes one person with a gun, destroys all their lives. People are killed. People are going to go to jail. They're going to be scarred for life. And we have two people that are dead and two that are shot, three that are shot. A total of 5 people shot. Am I pretty close? Yep. 5 people shot. 2 killed. And again, you need to pay attention. These people are in the hallways as they're being divided up. It was unbelievable here last night, the people that we had, and we had 2 and 3 crime scenes. We had people being interviewed. My detectives and my deputies haven't slept in 3 days. They've been working in shifts, nonstop, still wore out. Still, we have it resolved as far as the crimes go. We're still looking for 1 or 2 more people. Anybody that has any information, we need you to respond to the sheriff's office and give that information up. Now, I will take any questions that you have at this point. Any questions that you have?
Sheriff, when you say
Anybody other than you? Go ahead.
Sheriff,
Go ahead.
when you say large groups of people, or groups of people, do you know about how many? Was it several dozen? Was it just
Here's what we've been told. This is an ongoing investigation. The one that took place last night, we project that at least a couple dozen people or more. We don't know that for sure. It's hard to get people to cooperate. They're not all volunteering who was there. So it was large groups. They were there to fight.
Was it any kind of gangs or was
No,
it?
it appears it wasn't gangs. It was just groups of people that were angry over things being taken, and they were going to settle their differences last night, and they were going to fight. And fight they did, according to our statements and what we have at this point. It's still ongoing, the investigation. Remember, this has been 2 shootings, 2 separate shootings, and the distance between these shootings is roughly the length of 2 football fields. Of all the things to happen, a lot of people seen it. Not a lot of people are coming forward, which is normal, the normal circumstances. A lot of people were there. Could have been more people shot, could have been more people killed, and that should answer your question.
Was the shooter's gun the only weapon that was recovered, or were there more weapons?
I'm not going to discuss that at this time. Remember, this is still ongoing. Last night we were in the dark trying to find any and everything we could. Today we're in the daylight. We're going over the grounds, trying to find out who was there to make sure there wasn't somebody else shot and laying in the field, or someone else that was shot and just fled and went somewhere else. So it's all ongoing. It's very fast. The reason we're having this press conference today is to notify people in the community. It's a lot of these. Last night, I think one of them was from one of the shot victims was from Hamilton, I believe. One was from a couple of the townships. One was from Cincinnati. So they were scattered all over. It's not all people, and the people that were witnessing, they were from all over the place. So they came there to fight and to settle their differences over some items apparently that were taken from the others. It's ongoing, lots still happening, and I suspect there'll be more charges between today and maybe tomorrow, and it's still an ongoing investigation. And again, anybody that has any information, we want them to come forward. But again, these are young people's lives that are totally destroyed, family members of people that were killed. And again, as these people were here and lined up, the witnesses that were there, or the people that had shot people, they were asking for their parents, which is, that's what we're dealing with. And people think that, we're going to fight and everything's going to be okay until somebody pulls that gun out, and you can't put the genie back in the bottle. People have been killed. It's a tragedy, and sent chills down my spine knowing that this took place, and that it took place and it continues to take place. So I want to reemphasize that. Doesn't matter where you live, pay attention to what your kids are doing. Doesn't matter if they're 18, 19, 20, 21. A lot of these kids still live at home with their parents, and you need to be careful because their lives will never be the same. Any other questions?
Sheriff, do you have any reason to believe that there could be retaliation because of what has happened at these last 2 events?
Well, we're not going to discuss any of that at this point. Sometimes that takes place. With this group that was involved, I don't know. It's just happened last night at midnight, so we're looking at all of that. Families are involved. We've stepped up the patrol in certain places. We're still involved with other law enforcement agencies, and we're trying to keep that from happening. These don't appear to be gangs. It just appears to be groups of young people that were trying to settle their differences. And on the second shooting, and it ended up someone took out a gun and just started shooting randomly. Bullets don't have eyes, and the bullets go everywhere. It also appears that the shooter shot maybe and killed one of the persons that was with his group and wounded maybe one of the others that was with this group. That's where people that don't have experience with these weapons and shoot randomly. And again, the bullets don't have eyes. And we've got 2 people that are killed, 3 people that are shot, and we're still trying to resolve this. But I want the public to know that we're on it. We've got people charged. We have the people that done the shooting, and they're from all over the place, not one specific area. Any other questions?
Sheriff, are you, just to be perfectly clear, are you saying both groups agreed to fight? It wasn't like one group showed up and thought?
No. Okay. Basically what I'm saying, the question was, did I say that both groups agreed to fight? Both groups showed up to settle their differences. And when I say settle their differences, it wasn't to have a discussion. It wasn't to apologize and shake hands and walk away. They showed up to fight. Both sides did. And a gun was involved, and 3 people were shot. That answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sheriff, I do have one question about the first shooting. We're
Ye-
getting messages from the transgender community saying the victim in that case was transgender, that we need to start referring to her as a female. Does this have any come into play of any, was she targeted for any reason, this person?
No, absolutely not. This person was lured there to be robbed and to have his car taken and to have his belongings taken. A fight ensued, and he was killed. He was shot in the head. So that's, and we have the person that was there and has been charged that done the shooting, charged with murder and felonious assault, I think it is, aggravated assault, robbery, and very serious charges. 14-year-old girl was there, juvenile, and we're still looking for another one that was involved in that shooting. We haven't found that person. Anybody that knows the whereabouts of that individual, we gave everybody the name. We need help in finding this individual where they're located. But we have the shooters arrested. The victim in that case was lured there to be robbed and to take his car and to take his belongings. Now, on the shooting last night, they didn't take his car, but on the first shooting, they took his car. Am I correct?
Yes.
The first shooting, his car was taken and stolen. And so, any other questions? That answered your question and yours, Ms. Johnson, correct?
Yes.
Anybody else?
Any video surveillance from the Y?
We're looking at everything right now. If there's any surveillance videos, we're looking at that right now. And I can't release any other. If we have more information that comes up, we'll let everybody know. This is the first time we've had a press conference in quite some time. So hopefully we'll be able, as the information comes up, we'll put information out. Any more information that you have when this is over, we'll go ahead and people will stay and answer your questions. I prefer that you wear the mask, and when I get done, I'm going to put my mask back on. Sorry the inconvenience for you to have to wear your mask and or to have your temperature when you come in, but it's safety for all of us. Thanks everybody. I appreciate you for showing up.